I think that like there's a growing, I guess, need for people to have meaning in their work, right? I think historically, through the Industrial Revolution, like it was kind of like you just get a job, you're happy, you go back home, you know, with your kids. Now it's kind of like I want to enjoy what I do, I want to have an impact with what I do. So, and yeah, small businesses are more likely to have that impact than in some sort of like big conglomerate. So,
Yeah.
so that's really interesting. And I guess like, would you say that I guess the employee culture in small businesses is typically better, or like what are these small business owners doing in their employee culture that's not so great?
Um, I think the thing that we see and that we experience is culture of organizations evolves over time.
Mm-hmm.
And small businesses, particularly, are the ones that fall victim to where they get stuck in what their culture used to be and not what it's becoming. For me, I treat it like a living being culture. It's something that is going to change and adapt as your business evolves. You know, the types of customers you work with may change over time, which means the way you communicate with your audiences may change. The type of people you hire may have to change. So it
Mm.
has to be something that is constantly being added to. And I always look at this with hiring as well. I never try to hire for somebody that's fitting with my current culture. I'm hiring for somebody that's going to build on my current culture. They have to bring
Interesting.
something
Wow.
new that's going to evolve it. And that's where the diversity of thought, ideas, backgrounds, experiences is so magical because it allows you to evolve culture. Um, but also we see, companies that do some things really, really well, they also fall into the trap when they get busy. They let some of the old habits just die off. If you used to be a company that did, I don't know, work from home Fridays and, maybe did pizza Wednesdays, or you had a quiz night on a Tuesday and everyone got together, when those things start to drop off. And so you have legacy employees who start to feel a disconnect because the business is changing and you're not actively managing their experience of the culture.
Mm.
Um, and it happens a lot. I will say business owners have a huge amount of pressure on them with everything that's going on economically, societally right now. But you have to own your culture and you have to say, what am I doing to improve it, to build on it, to foster it, and to protect it for the people that I'm going to attract in the future and the people that are already working in my organization today.
Mm-hmm. And I guess like obviously like the good employee culture helps with the retention of employees and not just kind of new employees coming in. But I guess is that the number one, I guess, issue that small business owners have around retention? Like what do you think is the biggest issue that small business owners have around retention of employees, and how can that be fixed?
The first thing is to be aware of what your culture is and your values are.
Mm,
I actually don't think there's such a thing as a bad culture. I think there's the wrong
interesting.
culture for people.
Right. Oh,
So,
okay.
I'll give you an example. I know companies out there that run 12-hour work days. They pay low income wages compared to their industry, but
Hmm.
provide the best training programs on the planet for a certain industry specialization.
Right.
Every person who goes there within 2 years goes on to work in a very lucrative field, and that
Yeah.
company owns the fact that they're a training ground for others.
Right.
So they're very aware of this. They don't pretend to be something else. They're very genuine with it. And I think that's the mistake on the small business side is you try to pretend to be something to accommodate the needs of somebody else. It's okay to have a culture that could be we close our doors, everyone works in silence, and everyone gets the job done and checks out at 4:30 and no one interacts. If I'm an
Hmm.
introvert, as an example, what a wonderful place to work for me where I'm not going to get interrupted by that extroverted colleague that's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
telling me about the bachelorette last night. So I I think the mistake is we always say, oh, that company's got a really bad culture. No, it was
Hmm.
just the wrong culture for you. And as a
Interesting.
business, you've got to think about who are the right people for your culture and own what that culture actually is and what it stands for and how it impacts people day to day.
Hmm. Wow, that's pretty deep. I like it. And I guess like on the topic of some people that just want to be on their own or whatnot. What's your stance personally on remote work? Right, like as you know, like our whole team is completely remote, but not every person wants that. Not every company agrees with that. But what's your stance? And do you think that some companies are going to stay 100% remote now?
Uh, so what I will tell you, I've got my own personal opinion, and there's also what the data is showing. So
Okay.
the data is showing that our labor force is the least productive it's been in our lifetimes. So labor
Mm,
productivity has crashed.
mm,
The one fundamental shift we've seen during that period of time is working from home. So there is a correlation between working from home and labor productivity. And small businesses in particular have to be very careful around labor productivity because cost of labor continues to increase, cost of goods and services going up. So we need to maximize the value our employees can provide for us. So I think those businesses that were built to be work from home remote businesses can and will continue to thrive. And we
mm,
know about a third of people in the workforce want fully remote work. So there will be companies out there that can say, you know what, we built it this way. It works for us. We've invested in the right tools and technologies to support the employee experience. But also the people who work for us understand we're a remote business and that is what they need and what they work best in.
mm-hmm.
What we're seeing is about 2/3 of the workforce that are prepared to go to the office at least some of the time.
Yeah,
And I
like a
think
hybrid. Yeah.
companies are looking at ways that they can really get people connected to the culture, to the business, to the leadership, particularly from a training and development standpoint, which is easier done in proximity to others. So hybrid will become the compromise, but I'm a big believer the same way that culture you have to control and own it and be honest. If your business is going to be best served having people 5 days a week, be okay with the fact that that's not going to work for a third of the people you employ and find others that it is going to work for. I know I need to be in an office to be the most productive version of myself.
Mm,
If that's not right for you, I'm happy to help you find something that's going to fit with your needs, but you've got to be honest about it. I will tell you, anecdotally, we are not seeing any fully remote roles being marketed anymore
hmm,
through us as a search firm. Most people are coming to us are asking for people to be in the office most or all of the time with most searches. If they're not, they're asking that they're in close proximity to the office so they can bring people together for team building exercises. So most large corporates in particular are looking at a return to office the majority of the time.
interesting. Yeah. I mean, I can tell you from our own like experience too, like that, we've had no issue in hiring. Like as in like we put a job posting and when we say it's 100% remote, we get so many applicants that we get applicants across the country. We actually put like postings in cities that have high unemployment rate and then we get like loads of applicants. So in essence, I wonder if there's like a selection bias where, they're not going to a search firm because they're getting loads of leads already, right? But I guess it's interesting what you're saying. It's a third of the people that actually want that, and really 2/3 don't want that, right? And what we've seen is that like before the pandemic, people who wanted to work for us said, yeah, I want to work from home, and then they start working with us, and then they realize, you know what, I don't know if I like this, and then and then they have to leave, and then
Yeah.
but what happened for us is that through the pandemic people kind of self-selected whether they actually like to work from home or not. So now the only people that do apply are the ones that did enjoy working from home and who wants to do that on an ongoing basis. So I thought that was a pretty interesting change
Yeah,
in the
no,
industry. Yeah.
and most people are getting to grips with it now. I mean, we're what, 3 years out now from this kind of movement and shift. I'm really intrigued though as to how employers who need people in the place of work more
Mm,
consistently. We're seeing 4-day work weeks become more popular now, where they say
yeah.
you can work 4 days a week, but you'll do it from the office.
Oh, okay.
Um, what I do find intriguing though is that companies have stopped kind of clock watching. So they'll say, come to the office, but if you're coming at 9, whether you're coming at 10, it doesn't really matter. So there's far greater flexibility on how to manage life around in office, which I know I've got a young family. It's great for us that I can put the kids on the bus and not worry about being tied to my desk by 8 a.m. because my boss thinks I need to be there at that time.